Hello, hello, and welcome to conference. This week is a continuation, as always, of what we're studying, weather, food. Last week was a poem, The Bell and the Blackbird, and now from time to time, you know the language, I'm going to be saying bell to refer to your internal meditation yoga practice, and maybe blackbird a little bit when we talk about life. So the teaching taking from that was how important it is for all of us that in order to show up for our external life as best as we can, that we spend time in our internal life, our svadhyaya, our meditation, know thyself, all of that kind of good stuff. And I wanted just to begin with chapter 5 was talking about when monks become monks and they go through the monk ceremony. They're given a very special meditation at that time, and their meditation they're giving is the meditation of I am. And I wanted to read just a little bit about that, because I want everyone to kind of ask themselves this question: who am I? Is this great question? Am I the skin, the hair, and the muscles and the bones, the organs and the blood? Am I this body? Modern science tells us that molecules of the body are completely replaced every 7 years. If I am not the physical element of this body, then who am I? Am I the stream of changing feelings? Am I the memories and perceptions? Am I thoughts and concepts, the views and beliefs? Who am I? This is not a theoretical question. It is the most practical question for us to ask in the midst of our problems and sorrows. Who do I take myself to be? At work, in my family, in my community, in my heart? The way we answer this question can lead to entanglement or struggle, or, no matter where we are, to freedom and ease. It is absolutely crucial to understanding the human predicament. So I like to do this practice myself, this meditation and this question, and when I do it, I think of it as a bunch of layers of coats and shirts that I have on, and I think of it as taking off my first jacket, which is, I am a yoga teacher, and I take off another jacket that says, I am a psychologist, and I take off another coat that says, I am an American, and I take off another coat that says, I am of Irish descent, and another one that says, I'm a female, and until I just get down to this place of just sitting with the soul and the essence of who I am, and outside of just this frame that I call Diana, and this life, my history, my future, to just be in this present moment and completely just settled into myself. And oftentimes we use meditation, or we use breath practice, or we use yoga as a place to quiet our busy minds and come to this place of reflection and self-study and quietness. And like the weather we've been talking about the last few days as well, it's like that's the place oftentimes where the clouds are coming and going, and I'm pushing them away just to come back to this place of just being fully present. And as I was preparing the teachings, I was scribbling on the side of Jack's book that it was reminding me of a book that I read years ago and one of my favorite TED Talks. And the book was My Stroke of Insight by Jill Taylor. And she was, if you haven't seen the TED Talk, we'll try to link you into it. It's a fabulous TED Talk. And her book is called My Stroke of Insight, but I think that's listed on the TED Talk that way as well, in case we don't get to link you to this YouTube. But Jill says fascinating story because she was a scientist. She was a neuropsychologist. And one morning when she's preparing for work, she's on her exercise bike, exercising before she's going to take her shower and get ready for work, where her mind starts to shift and her body starts to do different things. And she realizes, like she's looking through a window to herself, that she's having a stroke. And just some really beautiful and interesting things come out of Jill's story. But one of the things is how she was able to rehab herself over years and to actually create new pathways in her brain, and that's very encouraging for us with our teaching today. But one of the things I also loved about the way she tells the story is she talks about the two sides of her brain, and one is she refers to the left side of her brain as being a scientist, is where she spent a lot of her time is in the left side of her brain. And then when she had the stroke, moved into the right side of her brain, what she calls La La Land. And you just love in her story how she talks about just loving La La Land so much, just wanting to reside in that right side of her brain. And it reminded me of, again, the self-study and the self-reflection that we've been talking about, and how we're trying to use simple metaphors like food and weather and different things to observe ourselves. I mean, Jill had this amazing ability to observe her entire process, both physically and emotionally, or her thinking process as well, is for us to be able to get better and better and better at like seeing ourselves and being able to identify, oh, I'm going down this rabbit hole again, and to bring it back to this place that I want to be, rather than to go that other direction that we see ourselves going. So this is a tough conference for me because I had a half an hour on Sunday, but a shorter amount of time with all of you, so I'm throwing a bunch in. One of my favorite books as well by the author Shawn Achor is Happiness Advantage. We studied about 4 years ago. One of the things I loved about Shawn is he has a lot of research to back up his ideas and theories, but he talks about how we can not only just create neural pathways towards things we don't want, like worrying and criticism and anger, but we can also create really strong neural pathways, as Jill did, towards things that we want more in our life, like happiness and joy and gratitude and silliness. And one of the things he talks about doing is when you have an experience that is a joyful experience or a beautiful experience, like dig deeper into it, like with gratitude, or to stay longer in that feeling and really acknowledge that feeling. And so with the teachings with Jill's TED Talk, and she's actually our quote for this week, and the Happiness Advantage in Jack, I kind of wrapped it all together in our teachings to say, here's what I would like to encourage all of you to do, is to, as you're going through the moments of your life, to try to create space, which is what we do with our yoga practice, to say the Viktor Frankl space in between my stimulus and my response. I'm just about to say something because I'm a little bit angry, and I see it. I see my anger, I see my response, and then all of a sudden I choose to do something different because I don't want that. I don't want that weather. I don't want to repeat that. And so it sounds simple, but I use the words space, see, and choose, which throughout the day, just to kind of have fun with this idea of stopping, seeing, and making decisions of where you want your thinking and your feeling to go. So here are my quotes for this week by Jill Bolte Taylor. We have the power to choose moment by moment who and how we want to be in the world. And when you see her TED Talk or read her book, it's very powerful, coming especially from her, although a lot of people have said this. And then one more quote from her. Most of the circuits in our brains run on automatic. The more you think a thought, the more energy goes into the circuit. Eventually, it gets enough energy to run the thought automatically without us needing to put any energy into it. It's just simple science, but to think if over and over again I keep feeling grateful, that's my favorite practice actually, is gratitude. If I keep feeling grateful, 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 and I'm happy, and I'm joyful, and I'm appreciative, I just keep getting better and better and better at that, the things we want to choose. So as always, these are simple teachings. Our yoga practice is a place we train ourselves. I encourage all of you to have fun outside of your yoga practice and be the observer. Namaste.